Come on down from Boston town. The Vancouver Canucks, with the announcement of Curtis Lazar and Brock Besser over to the IR, had themselves some opportunities for other players to come onto their forward core and make some damage. That is what they're hoping to happen here, as the Vancouver Canucks have made a trade with the Bruins. Patrick Allvin has announced today that forward Jack Studnicka has been acquired from Boston in exchange for goaltender Michael DiPietro and defenseman Jonathan Myrenberg. This is a pretty minor trade. However, when you acknowledge what the Vancouver Canucks are getting, this is somewhat of an important deal for them. As we had said, Curtis Lazar was placed onto the IR, so he is not available right now, which means that a guy like Jack Studnicka, a right-handed center, 23 years old, 6'2", 194, who has an absolutely beautiful last name, by the way, he is going to be on Vancouver. Now, he has been a pretty solid AHL guy for the Providence Bruins the past few years. 49 points in 60 games in 2019, 27 points in 11 games in 2021, and 35 points in 41 games in 2022. But he was never really able to put it together with the main Boston Bruins. Now, that's not too difficult to understand why. I mean, there have been some pretty good centers on Boston. You got Bergeron, you got Krejci coming back, and everybody else in between. So for a guy like Studnicka, he's never really had that opportunity to, let's say, become that middle six forward that a lot of people thought he would have been back when he was drafted in the second round in 2017 and showcased off very well with the Generals the next season. That's not to say that Studnicka is going to be a guaranteed stud, it's just he's a guy coming over here to Vancouver to help out on a team that is lacking centers ever since Lazar was placed onto the IR, and with Miller placed onto the wing, there are some opportunities opening up here, so we'll see what exactly Studnicka is able to provide the Vancouver Canucks. Maybe tomorrow? I mean, they're playing Seattle today, but the trade was announced like 20 minutes ago. The game hasn't started yet, by the way. I'm still making the video, so yeah, we'll see what happens when Studnicka joins the team soon. But in return, going over to Boston, first off, you have goaltender Michael DiPietro. Now, I'm sorry, Bruins fans, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but Michael DiPietro has not really had himself the best development path the past few years. He's kind of taken somewhat of a back seat with the Canucks and their farm team systems. The 2020-2021 season that he had was absolutely abysmal. Now, he had a .916 save percentage, but that's pretty good, but at the same time, he had 4 games played. Now, the 4 games played wasn't because he was injured, it was because he was going up and down with the Canucks and their taxi squad the entire time, meaning that he got very little to actual development time in that season's worth of play. It was somewhat of a disaster from a developmental standpoint because the Canucks pretty much fumbled the bag on a goaltender who honestly had a pretty good ranking and status profile heading into his Utica Comets stint. I mean, he had a .920 save percentage with the Spitfires in 2018-19 in 21 games before getting over to the Ottawa 67s and being their goaltender in the playoffs as he went undefeated. So DiPietro has had himself a pretty up-and-down career, but there was a trade request from him earlier this summer for him to finally get some playing time in somewhat of another system. In Abbotsford, he had himself 0 games played. It's Colin Delia and Artur Silovs who had been the main guys over there. Sorry, I had a brain fart right there for a second, but DiPietro is now heading over, hopefully to Providence, hopefully to a situation where he can actually get some playing time and maybe get his career back on track. And you also have Jonathan Myrenberg going over to Boston as well. Now, this is a pretty risky pick, I would say. He's a 5th-round guy, 140th overall in 2021. Right-handed defenseman, 6'3", 19 years old, good IQ, good playmaking ability. He had himself a pretty good amount of points in the J20 League last season and 15 games played with the SHL. This year with Mora IK and the Allsvenskan, he's got 3 points in 9 games played. I know it's easy for you to go out there and say, Lego, what the heck are you doing? Why are you getting all worried about a 5th-round pick from last year actually being somewhat of a notable prospect in a trade like this? It's because the Vancouver Canucks, whenever they trade away prospects like this, they always become good. You remember the Gustav Forsling, Adam Clendening move? That was pretty good. Jared McCann for Eric Branson? That was pretty good. There are so many trades like these where the Vancouver Canucks give up legitimate value down the line with prospects that become actual NHL caliber guys. Jalen Chatfield is another one that wasn't even a trade. That one they just let him go, and now he's on Carolina. He broke a decor that's a lot better than Vancouver's, and the Vancouver Canucks probably could have used a defenseman like Chatfield. So even though Myrenberg is a 5th-round pick, I'm not going to go out there and say that he's just a nothing prospect thrown in there. I've been traumatized by this team, and I would not be surprised if sometime down the line, Myrenberg is a Boston Bruins NHL defenseman just because of the Vancouver Canucks freaking luck that they have. But either way, Jack Studnicka is the prize coming over to Vancouver. He's the best player in this trade amongst everybody and their collective talent and value combined, so we'll see what he's able to do as the Vancouver Canucks hopefully seek a win or two down the line. Talk to me, consider your thoughts about this trade. Studnicka for Myrenberg and Michael DiPietro. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.